Greetings and welcome back to my channel. My name is Brett and I am glad you're here for another video. You saw the title. Man, I'm telling you right now, I've been through, okay, let me back up. I spent all weekend working on the bookstore, and the first idea that came to my head was to alphabetize the books. That way, when I scan the books, I can put them in there by genre and I can actually find them when I'm looking for them. So it's just step one, but I had to do something because I didn't even know what was in here. And I think it's counterproductive to think that I can speak about 2,000 books without the videos having some larger reference. So I wanted to pick out the books that were most significant as far as the market, as far as their historical value, and of course the author. Some of these books are so one of a kind, they're difficult to find. I've searched online, I've scanned using the Amazon Sellers app just to get an idea of what these books are worth according to the market. There's market value, and then there's my idea of value. So for me, value lies in the author. Of course, there are books that have a market value, but also I have a value that I put on books myself. So I'm going to go through these books. I'm going to be reading your comments because those are always fun. I want to say thank you to everyone who has taken the time to subscribe to my channel. I want to thank everyone who has purchased something from the Blacklit Geek bookstore, everyone who is subscribed to the Blacklit Geek bookstore on Shopify. So without further ado, let's get into these because I promise you, you're not going to see these books just aimlessly floating around. A lot of these titles you probably never heard of because I've never heard of them. So I had to do a lot of research just to understand and gain some type of significance. First book was Road Work, and I chose this book first because this is crazy. This is crazy. I got to tell a story. I always got to tell a story. Okay, so this is the thing. I was on Instagram and this site popped up. It's called antiquarianauctions.com. It's an online auction for collectors and dealers of rare books, documents, letters, etc. So what pops up, I mean, marketing is something else. So I see this, I can't show you guys like this because it's not going to pop up like that. Stephen King first edition under the pseudonym Richard Bachman, and the book is called Road Work. Signet Publishing, New York, 1981, first edition, first printing, and the reserve on it is $650, and it's like $650, and it just popped into my head. I was just like, you know, I started going through my little Blacklit Geek changes and everything, and I realized that I had a copy of that. I was like, I know I've seen that book before. So I realized that I had a copy of this book. So I scanned this book on Amazon Sellers app and I see one copy for $6.95 and I see another copy for $6.99 and there's another copy for $6.74. So there are only 3 copies of this. The original cover and the original printing, that book was $699. Sales rank is 10,005. And I'm like, I cannot believe this book is selling for that. But you know, it made me realize I had to do more than just pick up a bunch of books and say, hey, I got books, time to sell. I have to actually research this stuff, and it's very, very time consuming work, but it's about books and it's building my knowledge. So yeah, Stephen King, who wrote a few books, The Long Walk and Rage, under the pseudonym Richard Bachman back in the day. So let's read. They targeted his life for demolition. That's how George Bart Dawes saw it when a conglomerate bought the company he worked for and made him feel like a number. When the government told him to move out of the home he had put a lifetime of living into to make way for a highway project. When his wife left him because he wouldn't adjust to progress. It seemed to George that his whole world had been invaded by inquisitive demons who expected him to surrender to their will. Calmly, politely step aside. No waves, please. But some very incorruptible voice in George's mind kept reassuring him that sooner or later, the irresistible force of progress would come face to face with an immovable object. The will of George Bart Dawes. The impact, he suspected, would be shattering. Road work. Very pleased to have that. Very few people have that. Let me know if you do any research. Look online and let me know how many copies of that you see online. Okay. The next one is Night Train. You know what? I have to do something. I have to move this out of the way because I don't have enough room. Okay, so let's read Night Train. I'm just so okay. Let's read. In the bedrock beneath New York, a beautiful news reporter and a hard-bitten cop enter an eerie maze of abandoned tunnels, searching for a train that vanished with all aboard over half a century ago. But under the city of skyscrapers and tourists, under the peep shows and the penthouses, within the clammy darkness, around the next turn, an unholy evil awaits to disgorge itself in violence and blood. Now the final nightmare must explode. Now the killing frenzy must begin. Night Train. Definitely gonna read these. I guess one of the reasons I pulled all these out because this list is kind of starting to become a little bit more of a TBR as well. I'll tell you which one I'm gonna read next. I have the last 10 pages and I think I know how this story is gonna end in Rosemary's Baby. Let me know if you can find this online. Radcliffe. Joe Radcliffe, alias the Hitmaster. Okay, this is the number one. I've looked online and I've seen 2. I've seen a couple copies of 3, and I think I even saw a book 4, but I've never seen Roosevelt Mallory number 1. Radcliffe. Let me know if you find it online. Radcliffe is the code name for a professional hitman whose ruthlessness and expertise had earned him the title Hitmaster in international crime circles. His true identity is unknown to anyone, including national and international law enforcement agencies. Family calls him the headhunter, but he's not a family man, he's a loner. His service, killing underworld figures for other underworld figures. And it doesn't occur to underworld members that he's systematically killing them all off and getting paid by them to do it. It's Radcliffe's deadly little game plan, a game he devised in the jungles of Vietnam, where he calculated that he was knocking off VC for only $50 a head. He figured that the underworld would pay him more for knocking off their own kind than the good guys would pay him for doing so. And the end result was the same, except for the bread. Radcliffe's woman in off-duty silky life called for lots of bread. Radcliffe takes the contracts on Harlem's most closely guarded man and falls victim to mafia headhunters, the Black Syndicate, and New York police. Didn't I tell you? Oh my God, first edition books, amazing. This is amazing. Published 1973. It's amazing. Okay, next book, Baghdad Blues. Sam Greenlee. You guys know who Sam Greenlee is? Sam Greenlee wrote The Spook Who Sat by the Door. He was an FBI agent and became a movie. It was actually, I believe the book was on a banned list if I'm not mistaken. Assignment Baghdad. Baghdad is a city festering with Arabs protesting the corrupt royalist regime. Dave Burrell is a young recruitment officer in the U.S. Information Bureau who admires the rebels and secretly supports their views. His white colleagues, champions of the Iraqi government, are too busy drinking martinis and being liberal to care. When the revolution erupts, the U.S. Embassy is shocked. The king it supports is shot to death. The palace is destroyed. The entire city of Baghdad is transformed into a ravenous arena of political chaos and violence. And Burrell is caught in the bloody middle. Oh my gosh. Look at that. Amazing novel, right? Absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing novel. Okay, look at this one. Okay. Taxi Driver. Paul Schrader, Taxi Driver. Remember Robert De Niro played in the movie Taxi Driver? Okay. This book was published in 1976. He is a loner. He collects inappropriate pictures and fares sexy as animals. He carries thousands of dollars in a money belt and a 3-gun arsenal, 44 Magnum, 38 Smith & Wesson, and a little palm piece, a 25 Colt. He spends his nights cruising New York streets in a yellow sardine can on wheels. Someone evil is going to die. Someone strange is a hero. Robert De Niro. Taxi driver. Okay, let's go to this one. It's called Scratch One. Written by John Lang. Okay. Now, I was researching this book and Michael Crichton came up. So I did a little bit of research and realized that Michael Crichton is John Lang. He wrote this book under a pseudonym. A simple case of mistaken identity plunged Roger Carr into a seething scrabble for a vital arms shipment. He was trapped in a squeeze play involving a sadistic mastermind, a primitive killer, an exotic hooker, and a CIA agent. They all agreed on one matter. The sooner Carr was eliminated, the faster they can all get back to their original game plan. Scratch One. So that's why I added this book to the list, because it was a pseudonym. And I just thought that was really, really cool. Just like the Stephen King novel that was written by Richard Buckman. And research on that, I read that a young person, I can't remember the age, 19, a Stephen King fan, read that book by Richard Bachman and realized the similarities in the writing. So he was the one who actually uncovered it, and that's when Stephen King stopped using it. Amazing fact, huh? Okay, so these next two books were both written by this guy named John Ferris. One is called Harrison High. I'll just read them one at a time. This is called Harrison High. It's an explosive novel by John Ferris. 50-cent novel by John Ferris, published in 1959. The inside story of a high school where teenagers specialize in subjects never found in textbooks. Restless, tortured by self-doubt, hungry for thrills, getting their kicks through experiments in the backseats of jalopies. Too old to be children, too young to handle adult passions. This was written when John Ferris was 23 years old. Okay, it says John Ferris, now only 23 years old, was a teenager himself when he wrote Harrison High. He feels that the book's realism comes to his close association with his characters in age and experience. Okay, so it was his first major novel. So I found that. Then I found this, The Girl from Harrison High. Same author. But check out what this one is about. I'm going to have to use the N word when reading this, but I'm just going to say the N, because I just don't. And I don't want to go any further into that. But it made me think about the fact that this N-word is right there, which surely put this book on somebody's ban list. In Pocket Edition, first printing, 1968. Julie began unwrapping her sandwich. It was pleasantly noisy in the school cafeteria. Frances was sitting directly across from her, and her eyes were filled with cold rage, which Julie found startling and inexplicable. She gave Frances a quick smile, thinking, "Now what have I done?" "Julie," Frances said suddenly in a loud but calm voice, "you know we don't let ends sit at our table." Julie had been opening her carton milk, and she went on opening it methodically. But her mind was suddenly numb as she stared across the table at Frances. "What?" she asked, as she was surprised to know she had spoken. "Since none of us want to eat with ends, Julie, you'd better take your sandwich and go to the other room with the other ends." So this is a book that is steeped heavy in racial tensions, sex, and clearly identity. So this book, I definitely have to read this. Okay, the next one is The Vandetta by Nick Corey. Listen to this book has. Taking a look at it. Paolo Regobuto has sworn a vendetta against the men who had murdered his wife and children. Until the hoodlums bombed his apartment, Paolo was a peaceful man. Now he lived only for revenge. Soon he would no longer be Paul the waiter. He would be Paul Paolo, for Paolo's search for vengeance had brought him into the underworld, close to the men who ran the rackets and fought each other in savage gun battles for survival. And Paolo was a survivor. All he had to do was wait until he reached the top, where he could deliver death to the men who had robbed him of his family. But it is a Fawcett Gold Medal book. Stay Hungry. This book was wild. It was by Charles Gaines. Stay Hungry. The Wild World of the Bodybuilding Business, the lustiest novel of the year. I scanned this because I wanted to know how rare this book was. And I see 3 offers, one for $88, one for $1,600. Well, 2 offers for $1,600 and one for $88.88. I don't know what kind of shadiness they have going on. The sales ranking in this is 85,000. I was like, okay, so this book is another one of those popular vintage paperback novels. It's a thing. It's a real thing. I'm gonna get closer so you can. That guy in the back with the hair and the eyes reminds me of another. I don't think I have it. I can never find it right now. But yeah. Anyway, so yeah, Stay Hungry. What's another one? This book is, I think this is gonna be my next read. It's called Flesh by Bridget Brophy. Check this out. And I did a little bit of research before I might as well say. I did a little bit of research on Bridget Brophy, and I found out her husband was Michael Levy, who lived in London, who was he was the assistant keeper of the National Gallery when she wrote this, and he became the national director of the art gallery. He's an art historian. So yeah. So check this out. This tale of the shift of power in a young marriage relies for its novelty on the fact that on the wedding day of the bride, Nancy is more experienced and self-confident in every way than her husband Marcus. As the months go by, Marcus, at first the thin, shy, and diffident one, turns into a giant of appetite, desiring his wife and his food with never-failing passion. Her writing is so clever and so assured that she has no trouble holding the reader's attention. This was The New Yorker. This edition is 1964, originally copywritten in its first printing March 1963. Okay, go ahead. Before someone snatches it off the bookstore. Yeah, I better read it fast because someone's gonna want that. Okay, so the last book is The Drifters it's a dictionary by Michael Michener. This just seems like one of the books that would have been at my grandmother's house in my uncle's room. He stayed in the attic. Okay. So The Drifters, in his triumphant new bestseller, James Michener unfolds a powerful and poignant drama of 6 young runaways adrift in a world that they have created out of dreams, drugs, and dedication to pleasure. Spun out against an exotic backdrop of Spain, Marrakesh, Mozambique, Michener reveals the fanatic, hedonistic pursuit of today's disenchanted youth. Oh yeah, check it out. Okay, so There we go. Let me know what you think of these books. They're amazing, right? At Futa Josie writes, toxic work environments are very close to what I have to deal with every day. I have a high capacity for work, but in reality, I'm covering about 6 positions, including other desks when they are not in. I've been covering other desks for weeks and maybe there into mid-August because they have to hire someone for this position. It's a literal nightmare. Ugh, I might end up having to take some time off work. I totally understand you. And it's not fair. I think at some point it's up to us to make changes in our life. That's what I'm trying to do anyway. Just make changes in what I do, because one job is not the end all be all. I'll tell you that much. Thank you for your comment. At Yad30 writes, commenting so you know I'm an OG. Yeah. Seeing your Shopify made me think of that copy of the Dune series you got from the Tulersky collection a while back. You are an OG. Would pay a lot of money for that. But you know what? I think I have it right over there. I think you're talking about the original copy, because if you remember correct, I know you're an OG because you mentioned it. And thank you very much for that. There are 2 copies of Dune. There's a newer one and there's an old. And I think the old is the first paperback edition. I'm not 100% sure, but you may see it on there in the bookstore. But in any event, I do appreciate you commenting, yeah, you're an OG, Tulersky collection, and you remember that particular. Was that in the first? No, that wasn't even one of the first videos, because I did a lot of the literature stuff, all those before I even went into all of those paperback books. The whole Dune collection, right? Yeah. Mary Apple 9257 writes, congrats on the Shopify store. Thank you very much. Trish Wood 2997, love the vibe of your channel. I would definitely be a patron at your bookstore when you open it. Hey, thank you very much. I appreciate you. Taffy J531, what's up? She's been supporting me for so long. I read that Shogun book. It's engrossing. Yeah, because it's 1,200 pages? Now I'm off to research how to become a piece de resistance. You're funny. I appreciate you. So it was really engrossing. That's gonna take a while, Maybe it'll get sold before I have a chance to read it. Shucks. No. That's a huge book. Maybe I'll end up going in that direction. Right now, no. But maybe one day. Microcosmos Raven writes, hi, congrats on the Shopify store. Commenting on the hopes that you'll post some Pierce Anthony sci-fi books that I can purchase. You must be an OG, because I do have. How many of those did I have? I had a ton of those. I'm gonna put those sci-fi novels up. If I keep getting, and you know what? I think I'm going to attach them to the videos. Sandy TCF at the 23-minute mark in the video says, right with you about the movies that freaked us out. What were those movies? They were The Exorcist. They were Salem Slot. There was definitely Rosemary's Baby was in that list. And you can add The Shining. Going to throw that out there. Okay, so Two Cozies and Beyond, right? Congratulations on your Shopify store. I'm so excited that you were able to open a bookstore. Hey, thank you very much. I appreciate it. So it's a lot of work, and I think I'm going to do a video just kind of talking about the process and that type of deal. So I have 2 more comments, so I would have read them all. Okay, Lucky Exchange, what's going on? As a former manager, I am appalled at how commonplace piss poor management has become. I hate where I am now because of poor management, not because of the work required. It isn't generally just disparity. I strongly believe my position as a manager was to protect the people that work directly for me and setting clear expectations to ensure the success of the team. This often meant I worked long hours or had to spend more time on the individual struggling. I'm the struggle bus individual, but I am getting paid for those hours, so it seems justified. Burnout killed me in the end, but I don't regret the sacrifice because I got to see how the people on my team grew individually and as a team. My reward, the team supported me even when I made a mistake. We were in it together. I appreciate that post, and it's actually quite encouraging to hear someone in a management position speak openly, because normally it's more just like needs of the company come before the needs of the employee. That's the way it has always been, and it's never about your bottom line or about your work-life balance. It's about the mission first. Everything else comes second. It's kind of a military approach as well. So thank you for that. I really appreciate it. Crafty Hippie Chicken 3839. Greetings. Good for you in taking care of your needs and creating something that takes you closer to your goal. I haven't read Shogun, but remember the miniseries from the 80s. Mrs. Binnicker sounds like an interesting read. May have to search it out. Thank you for sharing this collection of books that are different from the same 5 books that seem to permeate BookTube. Enjoy the time you've carved out for yourself. Thank you very much. You know, I don't check out other booktubers anymore. I just haven't had time to really check out like what other booktubers are doing, because I think that when you start doing that, that's when you start falling into that deadly world of comparison. Thank you very much for your comment, and thank you everyone. And thank you everyone who has watched this far, everyone who watches my videos, everyone that enjoys my content. Share it with a friend. Let's double up. You know, everyone watching this video, grab a friend, say, hey, support this dude, support this channel. Get him out of corporate America, because it's not going so well. And it's more about me doing the things that I want to do. Sometimes you're put in positions, and the way that it's almost like being careful what you ask for, because it may not come in the way that you want. So especially if you're asking God for it, if you're praying for it, think about it like this. You can say, man, I just wish I didn't have to work anymore. And then something bad can happen to you that takes you out of the workplace. So you have to be specific, and you have to think of what you want from the inside out, not just what you see on the surface. You know, it's shallow, and it could be one of the worst gifts that you ever received. Okay, so I don't want to turn this video into something else, but I want to thank you for taking the time to watch it. If you do see a book in this collection that you are sincerely interested in, go over to the Blacklit Geek bookstore and pick it up. I appreciate it. I want to thank you for your time. I'm Brett Bonner, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.
Aggregate what they can do with the PS team, and